To travel overland from the massive white Salar de Uyuni salt flats in Bolivia to the Atacama Desert in Chile, you have to travel on rough trails across a Martian landscape on the Bolivian high-altitude desert to a remote border crossing on a shoulder between two volcanoes in a chain that forms the backbone of the Andes. And that is what we are about to do. These are our last views of Bolivia's massive Salar de Uyuni before we embark on a challenging transit to Chile across the Bolivian high-altitude desert on trails that at times are more like the Dakar Rally. Vicuñas jump across the road. We stop at a windswept village for a break. The dust swirls around. A dog does not have the energy to seek some shade. A local resident shelters her face from the sun, wind and dust as she crosses the road. We carry on across the high-altitude desert at 3,600 meters as dust devils swirl in the distance. We are surrounded by volcanoes rising above the plateau to almost 5,800 meters. The white coloration on the desert plateau is not frost, but salt. The white on the peaks of the volcanoes is snow. A harsh wind blows across the tracks of the railway line from Uyuni to Antofagasta. The railway was built with British investment starting in the 1870s to cash in on mineral exports from the high Andes back to Europe. We are in four-wheel drive 4.5-litre Land Cruisers as the high altitude requires more powerful engines to compensate for the lack of oxygen. This terrain would quickly wreck a less robust vehicle. I ask our guide how long these vehicles last negotiating this hazardous terrain, and the answer is about 4 years. The tyres have to be changed every year. We approach the spine of the Andes, a string of volcanoes that mark the border between Bolivia and Chile. Some are still active. We arrive at a lake where flamingos are grazing. We continue on and stay overnight by another lake, the Laguna Hedionda, at 4,100 meters, where flamingos seem oblivious to the chill mountain air just before sunset. At 6 a.m. the following morning, the flamingos are huddled in an area of the lake that is not frozen due to its high salinity, in spite of the fact that the temperature before sunrise was minus 15 degrees centigrade. We are on the road again by 7 a.m. as we have to get to the Chile border before it closes at 4 p.m. At one point, the road becomes a rocky climb that only a sturdy four-wheel drive vehicle can negotiate. It is followed by sandy drifts that can quickly bog down an inexperienced driver. The trail splits into different tracks across the stone desert. We arrive at a place where the wind and dust have eroded the rocks into surreal shapes. Hardy chinchillas manage to survive in this harsh, high-altitude climate. We carry on through the dust and arrive at another alkaline lake, the Laguna Colorada, coloured by red algae, where flamingos thrive. 3 species, the Chilean, Andean and James flamingos. After this alkaline lake, we climb to an altitude of 4,900 meters, that's 16,000 feet, to view the Sol de Manana geysers, a geothermal hotspot where bubbling motpots and geysers spout steam into the icy winds of the arid mountain landscape. But there is more still to come before we get to the border. The trail descends to another salt pan and lake, the Salar de Chalviri. On the way, we spot an Andean fox. The alkaline lake hosts a flock of Andean gulls. Beyond, the impressive caldera of Cerro Guacha rises to 5,600 meters. We travel on past the aptly named Salvador Dali Desert. Where more surreal rock formations protrude from the arid dust, the result of wind erosion of the underlying mineral-rich soil in a rainless climate. Eventually, we reach the emerald green Laguna Verde, its coloration the result of arsenic-rich minerals in the local desert. So not a lot of bird life here. The near-perfect cone of the dormant volcano Licancabur, that rises to 5,900 meters, forms an impressive backdrop to the lake. The trail then climbs to a shoulder between two volcanoes in the Andean spine, Licancabur and the stratovolcano Cerro Toco. The border post between Bolivia and Chile is on the shoulder at an altitude of 4,500 meters. We make it before the 4 p.m. deadline, and a new adventure awaits us in Chile.